Monica Davis was not just any CEO, she was a woman who had worked tirelessly to climb to the top of the business world. Born and raised in a modest neighborhood, Monica had always dreamed big. She grew up watching her parents struggle to make ends meet, and those experiences taught her the value of hard work, determination, and perseverance. From a very young age, Monica knew that she wanted to build something of her own, something that would not only give her financial independence but also make a mark in the world. She wasn't satisfied with just following the usual career path or settling for an ordinary life. Instead, she dreamed of creating a business that reflected her values, her personality, and her unwavering sense of purpose. After finishing college, Monica started working in the hospitality industry, initially in entry-level positions. While some might have felt discouraged by long hours, demanding clients, or limited pay, Monica saw every challenge as a learning opportunity. She paid attention to how hotels operated, how guests were treated, and what made certain establishments successful while others failed. She quickly realized that running a hotel wasn't just about providing rooms or food, it was about creating an experience, a feeling that guests would remember and talk about long after their stay. Over the years, Monica moved up the ranks. Her keen eye for detail, her ability to solve problems quickly, and her talent for understanding people set her apart from others. She learned to communicate effectively, motivate teams, and handle conflicts with grace and authority. But Monica was not only learning the technical aspects of the hotel business, she was also shaping her vision of what she wanted to create. She imagined a hotel chain that was not just luxurious but also welcoming, efficient, and respectful to both guests and employees. She dreamed of building a brand that represented professionalism, trust, and integrity. Monica's journey was far from easy. As a black woman in a male-dominated industry, she faced countless obstacles. She often encountered people who doubted her capabilities, questioned her authority, or tried to undermine her efforts. There were moments when she felt frustrated, lonely, or exhausted. But instead of giving up, Monica used these challenges as fuel to push herself harder. She became more determined, more focused, and more innovative. She knew that success would not come overnight, but she also knew that with patience, strategy, and courage, she could achieve her dreams. Eventually, after years of hard work, Monica opened her first hotel. It was a modest property compared to some of the big names in the industry, but for her, it represented the culmination of a lifelong dream. Every corner of the hotel reflected her personality and standards, clean, organized, and guest-friendly, yet infused with warmth and elegance. Monica personally oversaw every detail, from the decor and amenities to staff training and customer service policies. She wanted her guests to feel valued, comfortable, and impressed with the quality of service. Word about Monica's dedication spread quickly. Guests appreciated the personal touch, and her business started gaining a reputation for excellence. Her hotel became known not just as a place to stay but as an experience where professionalism and care went hand in hand. Monica didn't just want to make profits, she wanted to create an environment where both guests and staff felt respected and motivated. Her unique approach to leadership and customer service earned her admiration, not only from her clients but also from industry peers. Despite her success, Monica remained humble. She remembered her roots and the struggles she had faced. She often said that the key to her achievements was a combination of hard work, clear vision, and the courage to stand up for herself and her values. Monica believed that being a CEO was not just about managing a business, it was about leading by example, inspiring others, and making tough decisions when necessary. She was determined to run her hotels in a way that reflected her integrity, professionalism, and commitment to excellence. By the time she owned multiple hotels, Monica had become a figure of inspiration for aspiring entrepreneurs, especially women and people of color. She showed that no matter the challenges or barriers, it was possible to succeed through persistence, smart strategies, and unwavering confidence. Monica's story was not just about building a business, it was about creating a legacy, a testament to what one can achieve with determination, resilience, and a clear sense of purpose. The day Monica decided to visit her flagship hotel started like any other, yet little did she know it would turn into one of the most unforgettable days of her career. The sun had just begun to rise over the city skyline, painting the tall buildings with streaks of gold and pink. Monica arrived at the hotel, a towering structure of glass and steel, its name proudly displayed above the entrance. To any passerby, it looked like another luxury hotel, but for Monica, it was a symbol of years of sacrifice, hard work, and dreams finally realized. Every brick, every polished surface, and every carefully designed room reflected her dedication and vision. As she entered the lobby, she noticed the usual hustle of the morning. Guests were checking in, bellhops wheeled luggage, and staff moved briskly between floors. But today, there was an unusual tension in the air. Monica, who had a keen sense for detail, immediately felt it. A front desk clerk seemed distracted, glancing nervously at her computer screen, while another employee whispered urgently to a colleague, glancing over at her as if anticipating her reaction. It was subtle, but Monica could sense that something was off. She walked with her usual confident stride, greeting a few guests with a warm smile, but her mind was already analyzing the situation. Monica moved through the lobby, observing how her staff interacted with guests. The hotel had always prided itself on seamless service, yet today she noticed small mistakes piling up, wrong room keys being handed out, delays in check-ins, and even a minor argument between a concierge and a guest. While these were issues that could happen anywhere, Monica had trained her team to handle problems calmly and efficiently. She realized quickly that this wasn't ordinary disorganization, it was a symptom of deeper miscommunication and perhaps even negligence. She paused in the center of the lobby, looking around at the grand chandelier and the meticulously arranged seating areas. The lobby, usually a space of elegance and calm, seemed chaotic today. Monica took a deep breath, reminding herself that as CEO, her presence alone could restore order if she acted decisively. She was used to handling crises. After all, leading a hotel chain meant expecting the unexpected, but there was a strange tension that made her instincts scream that this day would be unlike any other. Guests began to take notice of her presence, many offering polite nods or smiles. Monica always made a point to acknowledge people personally, believing that leadership was not only about authority but also about connection. Yet even as she moved gracefully through the crowd, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing behind the scenes, something that could challenge not just her authority but the very foundation of the hotel she had built. Monica finally made her way to the manager's office, expecting to review reports and discuss routine matters. But the moment she opened the door, she felt a cold wave of disbelief. Staff members were gathered, whispering among themselves, some looking embarrassed, others defensive. It was clear that the issues she had noticed were far more serious than she had imagined. A scheduling mix-up had escalated into arguments, and minor mistakes had turned into larger disruptions affecting the guests' experience. Monica realized immediately that she needed to act, and act quickly. Her usual calm demeanor hardened into determination. She understood that leadership was measured in moments like these, not just in boardrooms or press releases. Little did she know that within moments, this seemingly ordinary morning would spiral into a confrontation that would leave everyone in the hotel, and later, the world, astonished. The tension that had been quietly building would soon erupt in ways no one could have predicted, testing Monica's patience, her authority, and her reputation as a fearless leader. In the calm before the storm, she took a final look around the lobby, preparing herself mentally for the challenge ahead. This was the moment when a CEO's resolve would truly be tested, and Monica was ready to face it head-on. As Monica stepped further into the heart of her hotel, she could feel the tension in the air growing heavier by the minute. It was subtle at first, a slight hesitation in the way the staff moved, the nervous glances exchanged between employees, but for someone like Monica, trained to notice every detail, it was impossible to ignore. She approached the front desk, where a long line of guests had begun forming, some checking in while others waited impatiently. What caught her attention immediately was the way the staff handled each guest interaction. Instead of the calm, professional demeanor she had always insisted upon, she noticed a mix of irritation and frustration among her employees. One clerk spoke curtly to a guest about a room that had been mistakenly double-booked, while another rolled her eyes when a client asked a simple question. Monica's eyes narrowed, and she felt a sudden wave of disbelief. How could her team, trained meticulously, allow such chaos to happen right under her nose? Before she could step in, a guest complained loudly, his voice echoing through the lobby. "I booked this room weeks ago, and now you're saying it's not available." The staff members, flustered, glanced at one another, unsure of how to respond. Monica's calm yet commanding presence immediately drew attention. The room seemed to hold its breath as she walked toward the scene. She had always believed that crises were opportunities to teach, to correct, and to show leadership, but this was unlike anything she had anticipated. It was clear that the breakdown was not just a simple error, it was a lack of respect and focus from those entrusted with running her hotel smoothly. Monica called for the staff to gather near the lobby. Her voice was firm, yet controlled, carrying the weight of authority that demanded attention. "I need to know what is going on here, right now," she said, her gaze sweeping across each person present. For a moment, there was silence. Then the excuses began, murmurs about misunderstandings, blaming one another, citing external pressures. Monica listened carefully, her mind analyzing each explanation. But she knew instinctively that this was not just about mistakes. It was about accountability, about recognizing responsibility and understanding that running a business required commitment from everyone, every single day. As the minutes passed, the situation escalated further. Arguments broke out among the staff, and some employees began raising their voices directly to Monica. Their behavior shocked her, not because she was inexperienced, but because they had never shown such open defiance before. Monica had always led with respect, believing that strong leadership meant balancing authority with empathy. Yet in that moment, it became painfully clear that some staff members had crossed a line. This was not a minor lapse in judgment, it was a challenge to her authority, an affront to the years of dedication she had poured into building her hotel. Guests watched in stunned silence as Monica stood there, assessing the scene. Her mind raced, recalling all the training sessions she had conducted, all the rules she had implemented, and all the guidance she had provided. And yet, here was a situation spiraling out of control in a way that could no longer be ignored. Monica realized that her next move would set the tone not just for the day but for the future of her business. She could not allow chaos to continue, nor could she let disrespect undermine everything she had built. She understood that leadership sometimes demanded making tough decisions in the heat of the moment. In that pivotal moment, Monica made a choice. She would not raise her voice unnecessarily, nor would she allow panic to spread among the guests. Instead, she would act with precision, decisiveness, and courage. The air in the lobby seemed to crackle with tension as she prepared to confront the employees who had disrupted the harmony of her hotel. Every eye in the room, both staff and guests, was on her, waiting to see what would happen next. Monica's calm yet steely demeanor left no doubt, she was in charge, and she would handle this situation in a way that would be remembered long after the day was over. What followed in the next few minutes would be shocking, unexpected, and a clear testament to Monica's unwavering leadership. The conflict that had begun as whispers and mistakes in the background was about to erupt into a dramatic confrontation, one that would test the very limits of authority, respect, and courage in the workplace. And Monica was ready to face it head-on, fully aware that her response would define her not just as a CEO, but as a leader who would not tolerate anything less than excellence. Monica had barely finished assessing the situation when the unimaginable happened. In a blur of confusion and miscommunication, security personnel, who were supposed to support her, misunderstood her presence and the escalating tension among the staff. Instead of assisting her in calming the situation, they mistakenly assumed that she was an unruly guest, someone causing a scene in the lobby. Before Monica could even react, she felt hands guiding her toward the exit, and the realization hit her like a thunderbolt, she was being ejected from her own hotel. For a moment, time seemed to slow down. Monica's heart raced, not out of fear, but out of disbelief. How could this happen? She had built this hotel with her own hands, invested years of sweat and sacrifice, trained every employee personally, and yet here she was, being treated like an outsider in a place she owned. The guests' eyes widened as they watched the scene unfold. Some whispered in shock, while others pulled out their phones to record what was happening. The lobby, which had moments ago been chaotic with staff errors, now froze in stunned silence. Monica's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, but she forced herself to stay calm. She straightened her posture, held her head high, and met the security guard's confused eyes. "Excuse me," she said firmly, her voice calm but commanding, "I am the CEO of this hotel. I belong here. You will not remove me from my property." But despite her words, the guards hesitated, unsure of what to do. The staff, some trying to explain themselves, others frozen with fear, added to the confusion. It was chaos, an embarrassing and surreal moment that no CEO ever wants to experience, yet Monica faced it with a mix of courage and clarity. As she was led toward the revolving doors, Monica noticed the looks of disbelief on the faces of her guests. Some were sympathetic, others curious, and a few even skeptical. Yet she refused to let embarrassment or humiliation control her actions. Instead, she allowed herself a brief moment of mental preparation, knowing that her next move would be crucial. This was not the time for anger or rash decisions, it was the time to act decisively, strategically, and with authority. The irony was almost cruel. Here she was, the woman who had trained her staff meticulously in leadership, professionalism, and hospitality, being ousted from her own hotel. Monica could feel the weight of the situation pressing on her, but instead of panic, she felt determination rising within her. This was a test of her leadership in the most extreme circumstances. The challenge was no longer about simple mismanagement or small errors, it had become a public test of respect, authority, and control. Monica turned to the gathering crowd and spoke with clarity and poise. Her voice carried over the murmurs of the lobby, "I am the CEO of this hotel. This is my property. No one has the right to treat me like a guest. I expect order and respect immediately." Her words were sharp but composed, commanding attention not just from the staff, but from every guest who had been watching in disbelief. For the first time, the staff seemed to grasp the gravity of their actions, and some stepped back, realizing that Monica was not just a leader, they were witnessing a force of nature in control of her domain. In that unforgettable moment, Monica realized that this ejection, as humiliating as it seemed, was also an opportunity. It was a moment to assert her authority unmistakably, to show everyone that leadership was not defined by comfort, privilege, or easy days, but by courage, decisiveness, and the willingness to confront chaos head-on. Monica's mind worked swiftly, analyzing every detail, the staff's mistakes, the security's misunderstanding, the guests' reactions, and planning her next steps. What had started as a simple morning inspection had escalated into a dramatic, public confrontation. Yet Monica's resolve only strengthened. She knew that in just a few minutes, she would turn this situation around. The ejection, intended to humiliate, would instead become the defining moment where Monica Davis would demonstrate why she was not just a CEO, but a leader unshakable in her authority. As Monica stood outside the revolving doors, briefly removed from her own hotel, a surge of clarity washed over her. This was the moment that would define her, not just as a CEO, but as a leader who refused to be undermined. She took a deep breath, steadied her racing heart, and stepped back inside, every movement purposeful, exuding calm authority. The guests, still watching in stunned silence, sensed the shift immediately. This was not a woman who would be intimidated or ignored. Monica's presence commanded attention without a word. She walked straight into the center of the lobby, her gaze sweeping across the anxious staff. For a moment, there was no sound except the faint hum of the air conditioning and the soft shuffle of nervous feet. Then, with measured authority, she addressed them, "I will not allow this chaos to continue. You have disrespected me, disrespected this hotel, and disrespected every guest here today. I expect immediate accountability, and I will not compromise." Her voice carried over the murmur of whispers, firm but controlled, leaving no room for excuses. At first, the staff hesitated, unsure whether to challenge her or comply. Some avoided eye contact, fearing the intensity in her eyes, while others whispered among themselves, questioning what would happen next. Monica seized the moment, knowing that leadership is not about waiting for others to act, it is about taking decisive control when circumstances demand it. She called a quick meeting in the lobby, gathering the staff in front of the guests. She wanted them to understand that professionalism, accountability, and respect were non-negotiable in her establishment. As the employees gathered, Monica's words struck like lightning. She did not shout, nor did she make threats, she simply outlined the facts. She described the errors that had occurred, from poor communication to neglect of responsibilities, and highlighted the chain of events that had led to her being mistakenly ejected. She spoke with precision, pointing out that the mistakes were not isolated incidents but symptoms of a larger problem in workplace discipline and respect. Each sentence landed like a weight, demanding attention and reflection. Guests in the lobby watched silently, sensing the intensity of the moment. Some were impressed by Monica's composure, while others whispered to each other in disbelief. Here was a CEO, treated publicly as powerless, who had turned humiliation into authority in minutes. The turning point was clear, Monica was no longer reacting to the chaos, she was controlling it. She asked each department head for explanations, listening carefully, but her eyes never lost their steely focus. Every answer was evaluated, every excuse weighed, and every gesture measured against the standard she had set for her hotel. Then Monica made her next move, subtle yet decisive. She didn't allow panic or anger to cloud judgment, instead, she imposed calm authority. She instructed the staff to stop all distractions, return to their posts, and focus solely on guest service while she took immediate action to address the underlying issues. Monica's leadership style was never about fear, it was about clarity, accountability, and vision. And in that moment, she demonstrated it fully. Staff members who had been confused or defiant began to see the seriousness of the situation. Some straightened their posture, others nodded silently, realizing that the woman before them was not just a CEO, but a force who would not tolerate incompetence or disrespect. Monica also acknowledged the guests, apologizing for the disruption and assuring them that the situation was under control. Her ability to maintain grace in a high-stress, public confrontation left an indelible impression on everyone present. The turning point was complete. What had started as a humiliating ejection had transformed into a moment of undeniable authority. Monica had regained control, not through anger, but through decisiveness, clarity, and unwavering confidence. In the minutes that followed, Monica began to strategize her next steps, already planning how to prevent such chaos in the future. She knew that leadership required more than authority, it required swift action, accountability, and the ability to turn setbacks into opportunities. The staff now understood that Monica Davis did not just lead a hotel, she led with purpose, clarity, and an unshakable sense of direction. And as the lobby slowly returned to order, it became evident to everyone watching that Monica had seized the moment, turning what could have been a public disaster into a powerful demonstration of leadership and resilience. As Monica stood outside the revolving doors, briefly removed from her own hotel, a surge of clarity washed over her. This was the moment that would define her, not just as a CEO, but as a leader who refused to be undermined. She took a deep breath, steadied her racing heart, and stepped back inside, every movement purposeful, exuding calm authority. The guests, still watching in stunned silence, sensed the shift immediately. This was not a woman who would be intimidated or ignored. Monica's presence commanded attention without a word. She walked straight into the center of the lobby, her gaze sweeping across the anxious staff. For a moment, there was no sound except the faint hum of the air conditioning and the soft shuffle of nervous feet. Then, with measured authority, she addressed them, "I will not allow this chaos to continue. You have disrespected me, disrespected this hotel, and disrespected every guest here today. I expect immediate accountability, and I will not compromise." Her voice carried over the murmur of whispers, firm but controlled, leaving no room for excuses. At first, the staff hesitated, unsure whether to challenge her or comply. Some avoided eye contact, fearing the intensity in her eyes, while others whispered among themselves, questioning what would happen next. Monica seized the moment, knowing that leadership is not about waiting for others to act, it is about taking decisive control when circumstances demand it. She called a quick meeting in the lobby, gathering the staff in front of the guests. She wanted them to understand that professionalism, accountability, and respect were non-negotiable in her establishment. As the employees gathered, Monica's words struck like lightning. She did not shout, nor did she make threats, she simply outlined the facts. She described the errors that had occurred, from poor communication to neglect of responsibilities, and highlighted the chain of events that had led to her being mistakenly ejected. She spoke with precision, pointing out that the mistakes were not isolated incidents but symptoms of a larger problem in workplace discipline and respect. Each sentence landed like a weight, demanding attention and reflection. Guests in the lobby watched silently, sensing the intensity of the moment. Some were impressed by Monica's composure, while others whispered to each other in disbelief. Here was a CEO, treated publicly as powerless, who had turned humiliation into authority in minutes. The turning point was clear, Monica was no longer reacting to the chaos, she was controlling it. She asked each department head for explanations, listening carefully, but her eyes never lost their steely focus. Every answer was evaluated, every excuse weighed, and every gesture measured against the standard she had set for her hotel. Then Monica made her next move, subtle yet decisive. She didn't allow panic or anger to cloud judgment, instead, she imposed calm authority. She instructed the staff to stop all distractions, return to their posts, and focus solely on guest service while she took immediate action to address the underlying issues. Monica's leadership style was never about fear, it was about clarity, accountability, and vision. And in that moment, she demonstrated it fully. Staff members who had been confused or defiant began to see the seriousness of the situation. Some straightened their posture, others nodded silently, realizing that the woman before them was not just a CEO, but a force who would not tolerate incompetence or disrespect. Monica also acknowledged the guests, apologizing for the disruption and assuring them that the situation was under control. Her ability to maintain grace in a high-stress, public confrontation left an indelible impression on everyone present. The turning point was complete. What had started as a humiliating ejection had transformed into a moment of undeniable authority. Monica had regained control, not through anger, but through decisiveness, clarity, and unwavering confidence. In the minutes that followed, Monica began to strategize her next steps, already planning how to prevent such chaos in the future. She knew that leadership required more than authority, it required swift action, accountability, and the ability to turn setbacks into opportunities. The staff now understood that Monica Davis did not just lead a hotel, she led with purpose, clarity, and an unshakable sense of direction. And as the lobby slowly returned to order, it became evident to everyone watching that Monica had seized the moment, turning what could have been a public disaster into a powerful demonstration of leadership and resilience. The moment Monica had finished asserting her authority and taking swift action, the atmosphere in the hotel shifted dramatically. Guests who had been silently observing the chaos now began to whisper amongst themselves, their expressions a mix of shock, awe, and curiosity. Some were clearly impressed, recognizing the composure and decisiveness with which Monica had handled a situation that could have spiraled completely out of control. Others were in disbelief, trying to reconcile the image of a CEO being ejected from her own hotel with the decisive power she had immediately reclaimed. The story, it seemed, had turned into something far bigger than anyone had expected. Word of the incident spread almost instantly. Guests pulled out their phones, some discreetly capturing short videos, others sharing updates with friends or posting on social media. Within hours, clips of the chaotic lobby, the tense standoff, and Monica's commanding presence began circulating online. The hashtag #BlackCEO began trending on multiple platforms as people debated what had happened. Many praised Monica for her swift, no-nonsense action, admiring how she had taken control of a humiliating situation and turned it into a demonstration of leadership. Others questioned the intensity of her response, wondering if firing the staff so abruptly had been too harsh. Meanwhile, the staff who had witnessed the incident firsthand were experiencing a mix of emotions. Some felt guilt and shame, realizing they had underestimated the CEO they were supposed to support. Others were intimidated, silently acknowledging that they had been held accountable in a way they would never forget. Monica's actions sent a clear message: respect, professionalism, and accountability were not optional, they were the foundation of the hotel's success. Even those employees who had not been directly involved began to understand the level of dedication and seriousness Monica demanded, and how important it was to uphold the standards she had established. Industry insiders and business commentators quickly picked up the story. Articles and posts described the incident as a remarkable example of leadership under pressure. Some analyzed the situation from a corporate perspective, praising Monica for protecting her brand and demonstrating accountability. Others discussed it as a social phenomenon, highlighting the unique challenges faced by black female executives in male-dominated industries. The story sparked wider conversations about respect, authority, and workplace dynamics, making Monica's hotel a case study in leadership that would be referenced for years to come. Even within her immediate network, reactions poured in. Friends, family, and colleagues reached out to offer support and admiration. Many expressed surprise at the viral nature of the incident, but none questioned Monica's judgment. They knew her as a woman who had built her empire through hard work, intelligence, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. This public confrontation, while intense, only reinforced the qualities that had made her successful in the first place. Monica, for her part, remained composed, understanding that the reactions, whether positive or critical, were part of the larger narrative of leadership. By the end of the day, the incident had become more than a local hotel mishap. It had become a story of resilience, authority, and the power of decisive action. Guests who had been present at the hotel shared their experience widely, telling friends and family about the CEO who had been thrown out of her own building and then reclaimed control with confidence and poise. Social media posts, news articles, and online discussions turned Monica into a symbol of leadership under pressure, and her actions became a source of inspiration for aspiring entrepreneurs and professionals worldwide. Through it all, Monica understood one thing clearly: reactions would always vary, but true leadership is measured not by popularity or comfort, but by the ability to act decisively, protect your vision, and uphold the standards that define your brand. The incident had shaken the hotel and stunned onlookers, but it had also demonstrated Monica's strength, courage, and unwavering commitment to excellence. Her reputation as a fearless, principled, and highly capable CEO had been solidified, and the story of that unforgettable day would be remembered as a turning point, not just for the hotel, but for everyone who witnessed her authority and determination in action. As the dust settled in the hotel, Monica stood in the lobby, surveying the space she had built from nothing. The chaos that had erupted earlier in the day seemed almost unreal now, like a vivid memory from someone else's life. Guests had returned to their rooms, staff had been replaced or reassigned, and yet the lessons of that extraordinary day remained etched in every corner of the hotel, and in everyone who had witnessed it. For Monica, the events of the morning and afternoon were more than just a dramatic confrontation, they were a reflection of the challenges, responsibilities, and sacrifices that come with leadership. Monica took a quiet moment to reflect on everything that had happened. Being ejected from her own hotel had been shocking, humiliating, and yet, paradoxically, it had been empowering. In those intense moments, she had discovered the true depth of her resilience, the strength of her authority, and the clarity of her vision. Leadership, she realized, was never about comfort, approval, or the absence of conflict. It was about standing firm in the face of adversity, making tough decisions swiftly, and inspiring respect through action rather than words. That day, Monica had not only defended her property and her guests, she had also reaffirmed her identity as a leader who would never compromise on excellence, integrity, or accountability. The hotel quickly returned to order, but Monica knew that the ripple effects of the incident would last far longer than a single day. Guests shared their stories with friends, family, and on social media, turning the episode into a lesson for anyone who aspired to leadership. Her bold actions inspired conversations about authority, accountability, and the unique challenges faced by executives, especially women and black leaders, in positions of power. Monica's decision to act decisively, rather than allow humiliation or indecision to define her, became a symbol of courage in the professional world. Monica also reflected on the personal lessons she had learned. Leadership required more than intelligence and skill, it required unwavering confidence, emotional strength, and the courage to act even when others doubted or opposed you. She realized that setbacks, no matter how embarrassing or public, could be transformed into opportunities for growth and respect. By confronting the chaos directly, Monica had not only restored order in her hotel but had also demonstrated that true leadership is measured by how one responds to unexpected challenges. In the weeks that followed, Monica's reputation as a fearless and effective CEO spread even further. Industry leaders praised her for her quick thinking and uncompromising standards, while aspiring entrepreneurs looked to her story as proof that courage, decisiveness, and integrity are indispensable in any career. Monica took pride not in the attention she received, but in knowing that she had protected her vision, upheld her values, and set a clear example of what it meant to lead with both authority and empathy. The incident also reinforced her belief in the importance of building a strong, trustworthy team. Monica knew that leadership was not about doing everything alone, but about surrounding yourself with people who shared your values and standards. The staff she would bring in next would be trained rigorously, aligned with her vision, and held to the same principles that had guided her success. The lesson was clear: a leader's legacy is built not only on their personal strength but on the culture, respect, and professionalism they cultivate around them. As Monica walked through her hotel later that evening, the sun setting behind the city skyline, she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. What had begun as a potentially humiliating confrontation had been transformed into a defining moment in her career, a testament to her courage, intelligence, and unwavering commitment to excellence. She had faced adversity, reclaimed control, and turned a moment of chaos into a story of empowerment, authority, and inspiration. And in that quiet, reflective moment, Monica Davis understood something profoundly simple yet incredibly powerful. True leadership is not about avoiding challenges, it is about rising above them, making hard decisions, and showing the world that no obstacle, no matter how public or intense, could shake her resolve. That day, she had not only led her hotel, she had led by example, leaving a legacy that would inspire generations of leaders to come.